Good evening, gentlemen. I think I'm going to have a short talk with you about Ukraine. Why I'm going to do it is because the situation has escalated there beyond measure. The Ukrainians, it is alleged, have bombed the bridge that connected the Crimea with Russia. And I'm told they used a water drone for this. And the Russians are furious. They have withdrawn their agreement for the export of grain from Ukraine and they have promised retribution. That's all very well, but the fact remains that the Russian army has not been able to win a decisive victory in Ukraine. That is the basic thing, the drawback. And Putin has to do something better than that, and he has to win this war. And that is where the shoe pinches. Now, the Americans are determined not to let Russia win, and they're giving all sorts of weapons to Ukraine. They have now given the cluster bombs, and these have been banned by 100 countries, but not by America and Ukraine, and they're going to use these weapons there, not realizing that it's going to harm the Ukrainians more. Gentlemen, the fact remains that Ukraine is at a flashpoint now. It's never been like that before. And until and unless I have a feeling Zelensky is removed as the president of Ukraine, there's going to be no end to this war. Or rather, it will lead to Armageddon. I'm pretty certain about it because Zelensky, as it is getting a little frustrated now because his so-called offensive or the counteroffensive which he has lost is petted out. It hasn't proceeded anywhere other than capturing one or two villages here and there. That's not called a success of an offensive. He's not been able to throw the Russians out at all. Though the Russians have not come forward, yet they remain entrenched. And now, of course, there's going to be retaliation from Russia. There's going to be heavy bombardment, I think. And I won't be surprised, as I've been stating so many times, that an engineered nuclear explosion could take place in Ukraine. Now, the countries which are supporting Ukraine, like the United Kingdom, England, I would say, or Germany, and to an extent France, are themselves knee-deep in trouble. And the East European countries like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and all which are the most vociferous in supporting Ukraine have got no military relevance. They're zero. So they can keep it's like a dog barking, but the caravan continues. So the East European countries have got no raison d'etre or they can't do anything. And France is in serious problem, gentlemen. You're aware about it. There's uprising and almost 30 French cities are under curfew. Germany is into recession. And in England, one of my friends who's there in London told me that he can't buy more than 2 kgs of potatoes from the supermarket because there's a shortage. So England is also in dire straits. And all this is very, very sad, gentlemen. Europe is cooking its own goose. I don't think they want to survive. And that megalomaniac stream of the Europeans, where they fight and destroy each other, is what matters. After all, you remember, there was a 7-year war, there was a 100-year war between the British and the French, and the Germans had been fighting the French for donkey's years, right from 1870, when they had captured Paris, when Bismarck was the Chancellor. Then the First World War, the Second World War, all that is part of history. So Europe has been the epicenter of all global wars. And there is no reason why it won't take place now because of the short-sightedness of the European powers and playing into the hands of the Americans. America, I think, is the biggest destabilizing country in the world. But then somebody has to bell the cat, and I think this Ukraine is the battle which will bell the American cat. But sadly, it will lead to the destruction of Ukraine. Ukraine is already destroyed. 25% of their population as refugees. They're suffering heavy casualties. And now with the grain stopped, they won't have any money at all to buy anything. Though the Americans are going to give them, the question arises, how long are the Americans going to keep on supporting Ukraine? But they're very cautious also because they haven't made Ukraine a member of the NATO. And that's one red line the Russians have said, if you cross it, you pay for a heavy price for it. Well, gentlemen, The battle is now at an interesting stage in the sense that the next thing is escalation further. And the only thing left now is some sort of a nuclear explosion which is going to take place in Ukraine, and that will be the end of Ukraine. And if the war persists, even after that, then the West European countries and the East European countries are going to be wiped out. They'll cease to exist on the map. I'll give you an example. You must be knowing that in 1961, Nikita Khrushchev, the first secretary of the Soviet Communist Party, had told Harold Macmillan, the British Prime Minister, all I need is 5 to 6 thermonuclear bombs and England ceased to exist on the world map. Macmillan was worried till he was assured by Kennedy, don't worry, we'll help you. Well, the same thing Biden is doing now. He's telling Ukraine, don't worry, we'll help you. But I don't think America is going to risk destruction of its own society and civilization. Gentlemen, Armageddon is approaching. I will close now, and as and when it starts, I'll come back to you again. In the meanwhile, I'll say Jai Hind, glory to India, look after yourself, take care, subscribe to my channel, talk it with your friends, and mark it as liked. I will close now and wish you all the best. Bye bye and God bless.